Hey, in this document, I'm going to do all the odd ones and ask you to do all the even ones. We're going to go back and do one more review on linear equations. I've spoken with the Math 143 instructor, and he's asked that we go through this one more time. I have tried my best to word these in the same way that he words his equations, so maybe that'll help you. I know sometimes when we see things worded differently, it kind of throws us off, even though the math is the same. So I've tried my best to word these the same as his test number 3 review. I know you're past that, but you'll see these items again on your final exam. So hopefully this review will help for the final exam. So I'm going to do the odd ones. Let's start with the first one. It says you can purchase a new phone for $500 and add additional memory for $2 per gigabyte. So I'm asking to write the equation of the cost of the phone, P. So the cost of the phone is going to be P as a function of the number of gigabytes of memory added, X. So that notation should be P of X equals, my initial value is 500 and is $2 per gigabyte, which is X. So that would be the equation. So P of X equals 500 plus 2X. And part B says, then use this formula to determine the cost of the phone with 100 gigabytes of additional memory. So I'm going to have P of X equals 500 plus 2 times 100, because the 100 was subbing in for my X. So this would be 700. And it would be $700. So part C says, find the number of gigabytes you can add if you purchase the phone for $1,200. So let's say I have $1,200 and I want to add this phone and I want to max out the amount of gigabytes I can get. So that 1,200 is going to go in place of the P of X. That's how much I'm willing to spend. And then I have 500 plus 2X. And at the moment, I don't know how many gigabytes I want. So that's why my gigabytes is still the variable X. Now I want to solve for that X by subtracting 500. And I have 700 equals 2X. I'm going to write that over here on the side. To solve for X, I divide by 2. And I get X equals 350. And that would be 350 gigabytes, right? So I get an additional 350 gigabytes if I'm willing to spend $1,200 on the phone. So I've done number 1. Number 2 should be very similar to that. I'm going to go to number 3. It says a goat will eat 1.35 square feet of grass per day. If the goat is placed into a 108 square foot field, and assuming the grass will not regrow, give the equation for the amount of grass, G, left in the field after a number of days, D. When will the field be bare? So part 1 is give the equation. So the G is where I'm starting with my function. And we have a 108 square foot field. So that's our initial amount. And then if the goat's eating the grass, I'm subtracting the amount that he eats. So I'm going to subtract 1.35. And that's how much grass he eats per day. And they told me to label day as a D here. So this would actually be G of D is equal to 108 minus 1.35 D, if you wanted to write it as a function. All right, so this would be my function notation. And G of D is the same thing as F of X that we've seen in the past. All right, so that would be the equation. And then it says, when will the field be bare? So what I'm looking for here, and this is part 2, so I'm going to erase what I have over here, is G of D represented my field or the amount of grass I have. So I want that to be 0. So 0 equals 108 minus 1.35 D. And I want to find D, which is going to represent the number of days it takes the goat to turn this field into 0, or the amount of grass in the field to 0. So I would subtract 108. I get negative 108 equals negative 1.35 D. I'm going to divide by negative 1.35. I realize I'm writing really small, but hopefully you can hear me if you can't see me. So negative 108 divided by negative 1.35 gives me 80. So D is equal to 80, and that would be 80 days. It's going to take the goats 80 days to eat this field completely gone. All right, number 4 should be a very similar setup. Number 5 says in 2000, the population of country A was 1,400,000 with a projected population decrease of 2,000 people per year. In the same year, the population of country B was 1,200,000 with a projected population decrease of 1,500 people per year. In what year will populations of country A and country B be equal, and what is that population? Okay, so I'm going to keep in mind that I'm starting at year 2000. I'm not going to do anything with that until it comes time to answer the question. But if I want to write the equation for country A, I am starting with 1,400,000. And that's decreasing, so that's going to be minus 2,000 people per year. So I'm going to let x represent the amount of years. So that would be the equation, and if I wrote it like this, f of x, that's that equation. I'm just going to ignore the f of x here because this time I want to set these two equations equal to each other. So I'm just going to put an equal sign because that's what I'm asking. When will the two countries be equal? And I'm going to write country B on the right-hand side. So country B starts with 1,200,000. And it's decreasing at a rate of 1,500 people per year. So that's my two equations. I have country A on the left-hand side, country B on the right-hand side, and anytime I want them to be equal to each other, I just put equal in between. So now I need to solve for x. So I got a little bit of work to do. I'm going to subtract. And you can move the 1,400,000 over, or as I've chosen, I'm moving the 1,200,000 over. So I subtract that. 1,400,000 minus 1,200,000 is going to leave me with 200,000 minus 2,000 x equals, on the right hand side, 1,500x. And now since I moved the 200,000, or I moved the 1,200,000 to the left hand side, I'm going to move the x's to the right hand side. So I'm going to add 2,000 x. That's going to cancel over here. That's going to leave me with 200,000 on the left hand side. 1,500 or negative 1,500 plus 2,000 leaves me with a positive 5,000. Sorry, positive 500 x. And I would divide by 500. Grab my calculator, make sure I don't mess this up. 200,000 divided by 500 gives me 400. X equals 400. So that would be 400 years. So it's going to take them a long time. All right, so 400 years for them to be equal. And then it says, and what will that population be? So what population, or what will the population be when the two countries are equal? So we've already answered one part, when will they be equal? And that's 400 years. Something I haven't added is 400 years from 2000. So that would be in year. I'm actually going to spell out year here. That would be in year 2,400. Because I had to take that 400 and add it to what year I was already in when I started talking about these countries. So now if I want to know what that population would be, I'm going to erase all of this, and I could keep the equation on the left or the right, but I'm going to keep the equation that I had on the left that representing country A. Since these two populations are going to be equal, you can use either one. So this was country A. I'm going to call population P. Let's call the population P of x. So let's say P of x is equal to 1,400,000 minus 2,000x. We just found that x was 400. So if I plug that in, and I grab my calculator again, 1,400,000 minus 2,000 times 400, I get 600,000. So when these countries have a population of 600,000 people, they will be equal. And that will happen in year 2,400. Number 6 should be very similar to number 5. Number 7, the cost of a flat screen television has decreased by $30 per year. If in 2010 the cost of a 50-inch flat screen television was $1,100, write the equation that gives the cost C of x years after 2010, then find the cost in year 2016. So first they want us to write the function as c of x, which represents the cost. It started at 1100 and it was decreasing $30 per year. So my year is going to be x, and they tell me that here. And x represents the years after 200 or 2010, so I'm going to keep that in mind. So that would be the equation. And then they ask us to find the cost in year, or the cost of the TV in year 2016. So first, how many years is 2016 past 2010? It would be 6 years. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 6, I'm going to plug it into my x. So c of 6 is equal to 1100 minus 30 times 6. Grab my calculator again. And I get $920. All right, number 8 should be worded very similar. And then the last one I'm going to do, number 9, calculate the slope given 2 points. So we have to remember that the slope is the equation rise over run, which my rise is how much my y changes, so y2 minus y1. My run is how much my x changes, so x2 minus x1. And I can call these x1, y1 here and here. And then this will be x2, y2 here and here. So if I plug those in, I have negative 3 minus 4. That was my y2 minus my y1 over 5 minus 6. And then I just do the math. Negative 3 minus 4 is negative 7. And then 5 minus 6 is going to be negative 1. So my slope is equal to 7.